how did the experience of being a trial lawyer really prime you and your expertise in being able to deal effectively with somebody who has a challenging personality or is argumentative? Like, how did that shape you in the way that you approach this?
I love that. Well, this is something you know very well about. That is, these difficult personalities, when you talk to them, it's often, they're only difficult because they have a fear, an insecurity, a need. So instead of seeing it as a conflict, you see it as a bid for connection. They're wanting to feel like they can be heard, that they're important. What they say is somebody can acknowledge and care about it versus always having a poke and pride. So when I'm cross-examining somebody, a lot of these techniques that I use has to do with, one, I understand that just because they say something doesn't mean I have to swing at it. Just because they throw a ball doesn't mean I have to swing. You just let the pitch go by. Nobody can make me say anything that I don't want to say. The same way, I don't have to respond even if they send a zinger at me. So there's that sense of control of, yeah, you can say what you need to say. That doesn't mean I need to say what I want to say. So there's this confidence that you can have from questioning people in the courtroom. Another would be understanding that that conflict, that argument is simply a window into another person's struggle. When I'm representing a client and you're representing another client, a lot of the time, it's a weird occupation though, if you think about it. People hire me to have beef with somebody I don't have beef with. And then what makes it even harder is they hire somebody to have beef with me. So when you're arguing with that opposing attorney, he and I or she and I, we don't have any problems, really. We're just taking on the problems of somebody else. And you can't, arguments aren't something to win, and especially in the courtroom, you just give the evidence and the facts a voice. You advocate for those facts under the given law. So it's very different in that sense, but the same rules apply, that the less you say, the more powerful you sound, the more confident you express yourself, the more you seem more confident in yourself. So it's these little tips that I like to give from the courtroom that help me understand that difficult people are just people. We can all be difficult.
So, the thing that I'm already taking away is that even viewing someone as being super difficult or being narcissistic in their personality type or holding grudges or negative or whatever label you want to put, that right there is already a problem because you already flipped it on its head and said, this is just a person that wants attention. This is a person who wants to be understood. And they don't feel understood, which is why you're getting all that negativity on the surface. And so if you, number one, if I'm listening and hearing you correctly, if you even just flip your viewpoint about this person to, hey, this is just another human being who has not the best way of trying to get themselves understood, that right there already lowers the intensity of the interaction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is that mindset. If you go into it knowing or telling and convincing yourself that this person is difficult, well, all of a sudden you've made it difficult for you. Well, what's to stop you from thinking this person is somebody I need to make sure I listen to? Sometimes the goal is too high. If your goal is they need to believe everything that I say, they need to do everything that I do, you're never going to get that. Instead, if you can go into the conversation with a much smaller goal, like I want to make sure that they understand me. I want to make sure that I understand them. I want to make sure that I listen to them without interrupting. I want to make sure that I listen to the end of their sentences. And that's very rare for people to listen to the end of somebody's sentence. So you find that often when it's a difficult conversation, you're the one that's called it difficult. You're the one who's made it difficult from the outset for yourself. You haven't had the conversation yet. Now, you might know that person to tend to have personalities or behaviors that can be seen objectively as difficult. But often when you hear that person say, you don't listen to me, what they're saying on the inside is, I want to feel heard. I want you to connect with me. I want to be understood.
How do you deal with somebody who whenever they get overwhelmed or upset, they're like, nobody ever listens to me. Like, "Rah." How do you respond to that?
If they come in hot and heavy like
Yeah.
that, then nobody ever listens to me. Well, then you're going to be the opposite of that. I mean, you're going to pose questions for them. I mean, for example, that never, that's one word that's an extreme you're going to attach. I never listen to you. I want to make sure I understood that. I never listen to you. Typically, they'll draw back from that because then you use an extreme. They know you have to listen to them. Then you go pull it another layer. All right. Is it that you feel that I never listen to you, or is it that I actually objectively never listen? You go it again. Okay, so you feel like I don't listen to that. Well, let's talk about it. Let's keep going. It's helpful to know. I'm here. I'm listening. I'd like to change that. You just find ways to go at it again.
That was masterful.
Well,
and I know I'm not the only one, Jefferson, who is now going to take that script and start using it with people in their life. And I'm thinking of one person in particular who, whenever they get upset, that's 1,000% what they say.
Mm-hmm.
And I now know, because I'm learning from you, listen to the end of the sentence, take a beat. You also did this technique that I noticed where you lowered when I raised my voice.
Mm.
And you slowed the conversation down by simply slowing the pace of the question. And you're asking the question not like a jerk, like, oh, so I never listen to you? Because that's the other thing that people do.
Right.
Versus saying, I never listened to you?
Yeah, it's powerful stuff. If you can, anytime when somebody is going super high, they're yelling, you go even slower. You lower your voice because then you're the one who sounds calm and in control. And they're the one that seems like they're on the extremes. Their voice and their brain and their ear will hear that and they'll start to lower it because they don't like to be out in the extremes. So they'll start to slow themselves down. What I teach my clients is that the person that you see is often not the person you're talking to. And what I mean by that is I've had a client, not a client, but a witness that I was deposing. Mm-hmm. And he was ugly with me and he was big and brash and didn't like any of the questions I was asking him. And I asked him the question, so what are you struggling with today? I said, let's just set aside the case. What are you struggling with right now? And he went on to tell me about how he was having a hard time with his mother. He had just had to put her in a nursing home, assisted living. His father was passed away. His brother was out in the oil field, and he was the only one to take care of her. And he was just nervous about it. And he had been getting letters from attorneys. And so this big guy who was in front of me, even though he was being ugly to me in that conversation, I knew that the person I saw was not the person I was talking to. You have that when every conversation you have, you see this person and they look mad and they look ugly, but who's the person you're talking to? It's the person behind the counter, the person who waits on you, the cashier. Every one of them is a chance to have connection with that person because who you talk to right then affects how they talk to everybody else. It's a ripple effect. It's how you talk to your kids affects how they're going to talk to their kids. How you talk to the person who takes your order, if you're rude to them, well, they're going to have a harder time talking to the people that they love when they go home. So it's a big circle of life in a way.
Well, it's also what you're pointing to is you have power.
Oh yeah.
And we don't think about it that way. We get so wrapped up in the stress of our day-to-day lives that you forget that your words and your energy has tremendous power, and we give it away to other people. And particularly when somebody is a negative person or they're a difficult personality and you start to brace and you believe they have more power because of their bravado or their whatever, or the fact that they're constantly gaslighting you or erupting, or they pull the silent treatment, all of these things that are wildly emotionally immature, but feels like they have more power over you. What you're saying is, no. You always have power.
And I can tell the listener right now the kind of power that they will have.
What is it?
So I've had people, see, one of the ones recently I had was, there was a wife who emailed me and said, I had an argument with my husband last night, and I used one of your phrases, and that was to de-escalate a conversation or argument. I could have done better. She said, without hesitation, he said to me, I could have done better too. She said, in our 18 years of marriage, he's never said that to me. Just little phrases that you can find to de-escalate that. That's true power that you can have in a relationship. In terms of the ripple effect that the true, you have a power to affect people you will never, ever meet. And it's a wild thought, but it's true. I had somebody email me, this is probably 2 months ago, who said, I am somebody who helps with couples at foster homes. And these parents were arguing, and I used one of your tips on how to communicate with them to get them to stop arguing and agree on something that will forever change their kids' lives. I'll never meet these kids. They'll never know me. They will probably never know the guy who helped them and emailed me. But it's just little things of what you say today will truly change the future of other people you'll never, ever meet. People who have autism who can now make friends just by how you say certain things and how they can communicate. It's everything about you can be compressed into what you say next, and it's a beautiful thing.
What was the phrase that you are hearing that has someone with autism communicate better?
They weren't sure exactly how to talk to their friends. They were always afraid that they were always left out of it. And so it was this mindset that I tell them is, you just weren't supposed to be there. And that's okay. You weren't supposed to be there. And that mindset, this father told me, helped his son understand if he wasn't invited, just meant he wasn't supposed to be there. And that he found different ways of going, well, this is where I need to be, and finding people who wanted to spend time with him. But he was feeling really hurt that he wasn't getting invited to that party or that thing. And so it's this mindset of, that happens, it's okay. You weren't meant to be there. You were meant to be somewhere else. And that made them feel that he could make time for friends who cared.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Really beautiful. So what was the phrase that helped the parents stop arguing in the foster situation?
Is this something we have to agree on? So a tip that I use is this something we have to agree on? Usually it's not. That stops arguments. It doesn't matter what the topic is. If you find that you're yang over the small stuff, the little things, that often leads to the biggest arguments. You'll get in these big arguments and go, what were we even, how did this even start? How do we even get here? Often you can put all that to rest when you just even ask, is this something we have to agree on? If it is, you can ask again, is this something we have to agree on right now? So there's a timing element too, because often people push arguments on you when you're not ready. They'll push conversation on you when you're not ready. You got 5 minutes? What they really mean is, hey, do you have about 48 minutes for me to tell you about something that you have no time for and your brain's locked into something else? And so it's, they often push their own timing on you. So part of that standing up for yourself is defending your own time perimeter.
Can you give me give me an example?
Sure. So let's say you and I are choosing, let's say the best detergent. Okay. I don't know. That's just the first thing that came to mind.
So let's say you're standing in the aisle at the grocery store and you grab detergent and your spouse then questions the detergent.
Yeah.
And these are these little things that become big things.
And that's what happens. Typically your biggest arguments stem from the smallest little inconvenience, especially if you're married.
And you're saying that you're standing there in the grocery aisle and you say, do we have to agree on this right now?
Exactly. Is this something we have to agree on at this moment, right now? And they go, no.
No, it's not that big.
But yeah, but in that moment, if you're not thinking about it, you start getting worked up.
And what I love about it, though, is it's a very kind way to cue someone else that they're pushing an argument on you?
Absolutely.
What is the best way to handle the knock, knock, knock? You got 5 minutes and you know that with this person, it's 48.
Mm-hmm.
How do you respond to that to protect your time?
If the automatic feeling within you is no, then the answer is no, you don't. It's setting it later. I don't right now. Can we schedule this for tomorrow? What's your next week look like? Find ways to push it out, because what you'll find is that 5 minutes they needed right then, that issue gets solved without you. They didn't really need it. They just came to talk.
You mentioned that there are a number of phrases that you teach people to help you de-escalate. Are there others that come to mind other than, is this something we need to agree on right now?
There are phrases, let's say, to help pull down defensiveness. Because often when I say something, the tendency, the default is for somebody to get defensive. And that's natural. It's biological. It's your body going, oh, I perceive a threat. I'm going to send it right back. That's what fight or flight is in that element. The fight is, I will throw hard words at you. I want words to hurt you. Or if you're running from it, it's I got to get out of here, slam the door. I got to hang up, finding different ways to de-escalate situations. And what I like to tell them is, you tell them what you learned. So after listening to you, I learned that this topic is important to you. Or you tell them that they've been helpful. That's helpful to know. Simple as that. Or you tell them what you agree on, using the word agree. That does not mean you have to agree with what they said. It just means they just need to hear that word. In other words, instead of focusing on the content of that conversation, it is, I agree that this is something we need to talk about. I agree that this is a conversation worth having. Boom. Like that right there, all of a sudden pulls down their defensiveness. They heard the word, I agree. They heard that this conversation is worth talking about. Great. They don't have to continue to push and feel defensive about it. They don't have to keep proving to you on something.
It goes back to your earlier point that it's a person that doesn't feel like they're being heard.
Exactly.
Huh.
And if you need to like shift away from that, is this something we need to agree on? I could do better. I like, maybe so, or maybe you're right. Those are two that I use often. If I ever get an insult, maybe, or a rude comment in the litigation world, somebody makes some kind of offhand comment, I say, well, maybe you're right. Maybe so. Who am I to say? It's that element of, I get to control entirely what you say. Is that going to affect me or not? I have entire control over that.
You forget that because, what people say, it does have an emotional impact on you. You are going to react, but you get to choose how you respond.
Yeah, especially if you always pick it up and carry it.
Yes.
So when it comes to taking things personally,
yes.
For example, a quick tool for that is, what I tell myself is, I'll just say, put it down, Jefferson. When I'm taking things personally, I'm picking up what nobody has asked me to carry. I'm choosing to carry it. And before I know it, I can't even carry it anymore. And to me, how often you take things personally is a direct reflection of how much grace you give other people.
Oh.
If you never give somebody the benefit of the doubt, it's heavy. It's a heavy proposition if you never give somebody the benefit of the doubt, instead of just waiting to see if truly that offhand look meant to say something to you. We recognize it as that, I thought you were mad at me.
Yeah. You immediately internalize it and you have no idea what's actually going on.
Yeah. You pass by somebody in the hallway and they didn't say hello. You go, oh, they must be mad at me. No, they were just focusing on other things in their life. If you enjoyed that clip and want to see the rest of the conversation, you can click right here. Or if you want to see the latest episode of the Jefferson Fisher podcast, click right here and I'll meet you there.